I'm Jeremy Myers. I teach at Augsburg University. I'm part of the Christensen Center for Vocation at Augsburg. This is my colleague.
Hello, I'm Kristina Fruge. I'm the Managing Director at Christensen Center for Vocation in Minneapolis, Minnesota at Augsburg University.
And we're pretty eager to do a workshop this year. We always like doing it and the conversations that we get to have with folks there. The title of our workshop would be Rooted and Open, Grounding Your Community in Core Beliefs, Branching Out into the Unknown. And we would really kind of riff on the whole theme of holding loosely. We think we've learned some things from the congregations in our Riverside Innovation Hub about how your core theological convictions shape your ministry practices and how those core convictions allow you to move into the unknown with some dynamic flexibility. And so we would want people to, in the first 15 minutes of this session, we would teach people how core convictions shape ministry practices, how to identify what your community's core convictions are, and then how to use those intentionally as you imagine ministry in this new time. Christine will say a little bit about what we want to do in the 45 minutes of breakout work.
Yeah, so for our breakout session, we'd love to incorporate some of the leadership and insights from our local congregations here in the Twin Cities that have been a part of our Riverside Innovation Hub for the past 2.5 years now. So we would imagine recruiting a few of those folks to facilitate some small group breakouts where they would have a chance to speak kind of from their own story and their own context in terms of how their core theological convictions have helped them navigate a really tumultuous and intense and uncertain time here, especially in the Twin Cities. We have congregations that were blocks away from some of the civil unrest that erupted after George Floyd's murder. We've got congregations that have been very actively involved in the response to community aid and mutual aid and the overall need to address some of the deep pains and heartache in our community. So we would love to highlight those folks as breakout session leaders and then create space for participants to do some reflection on their own context and their core theological convictions and how they could bring some of those insights back to their own communities.
And you can see we're both kind of under trees, and that's intentional because we're playing with the rooted and open theme. So these trees are deeply rooted into the soil, into the ground, which then allows them to branch out fully in creative and dynamic ways. And so we would want to play with this idea of holding things loosely. And how does a tree hold its leaves loosely? How does a tree shed those leaves when it's time to shed those leaves? How are we rooted in God's grace and other core convictions of our lives? And how do those things branch out into our ministry in the world and for the world?
Thank you.